On it, Harry. We should have had all this done before you got here. Oh, don't be silly. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. He utterly hated William Frawley. Now we know why. In 1951, William Frawley was 64 and bitter. Then, he met his I Love Lucy co-star and something snapped. He hated everything about her. For 6 years, he made her life hell on set. He'd blow up during rehearsals. He'd suggest nasty jokes about her weight. He even got her banned from visiting other sets he worked on. She fought back by refusing to film bedroom scenes with him. What he did to get revenge would haunt television history forever. William Clement Frawley was born on February 26, 1887 in Burlington, Iowa. His family was Irish, Catholic and working class. His father, Michael, worked as a steamboat captain. His mother, Mary, was extremely religious. When Michael died in 1907, William was only 20. The burden of supporting the family became heavier, and Mary's grip on her children grew tighter. They lived on 6th Street, surrounded by other struggling immigrant families. William was the second of 4 kids. John, Paul, and Mary were his siblings. All of them were expected to live quiet, proper lives. But William had other plans. He joined the choir at St. Paul's Catholic Church, which made his mother proud. But secretly, he also started performing at the Burlington Opera House. That was where the trouble began. Mary believed show business was evil. When she found out about his secret performances, she sent him a terrifying message. She said she'd rather bury him than watch him become an actor. William was crushed, but also more determined than ever. He hated how she showed off his golden curls like a doll, and one day he forced her to cut them after kids teased him. Still, that strong Irish tenor voice he had stood out, and he wasn't going to waste it. To please his mother, he took a job as a stenographer at the Union Pacific Railroad in Omaha. He hated every second of it. He wore loud suits, brown derby hats, and even spats. People in the office laughed because he looked like he was about to break into song. And sometimes he did. Ragtime Irish ballads. He sang them all while doing the boring clerical work. But 2 years in, he'd had enough. He moved to Chicago and took a job as a court reporter. It sounded respectable. It wasn't what he wanted, but it was a step closer to freedom. In Chicago, he finally took a real shot. He auditioned for a role in a musical comedy called The Flirting Princess at the Lasalle Theater. He got the part. It was his first time getting paid to sing on stage. When his mother found out, she lost it. She sent another brutal letter, and William packed his bags again. This time, he moved to St. Louis and went back to railroad work, just to calm her down. But something had changed. That performance made him feel alive. He believed he had something special. He even claimed later that he was the first to perform My Melancholy Baby, though others dispute that. Still, the spark had been lit. He kept chasing his dream. He formed a vaudeville act with his brother Paul. They performed together in 1908 with William handling comedy and Paul playing the straight man. Audiences loved them, but 6 months in, their mother struck again. She forced Paul to return to Iowa. Just like that, the act was dead. William was furious, but he didn't quit. In 1910, he sold a script he wrote called Fun in a vaudeville agency for over $500. That was a fortune, equal to about $15,000. Today, it was the first time entertainment paid off in a real way. He used the money to move to Denver and sing at the Rex Cafe for $23 a week. His brother was gone, but now he had proof. This wasn't just a dream. It was a job, a real one. Soon after, he teamed up with a pianist named Franz Rath. They called their act a man, a piano, and a nut. William was the nut. They played in San Francisco, performing songs, jokes, and physical comedy. He was finally in his element. But this was also when his drinking started to spiral. Vaudeville was a hard life. Late nights, booze, travel. The act lasted 4 years until William met Edna Louise Breaux. He married Edna on November 1st, 1914. She was already a rising performer with credits in silent film shorts. Together they formed Frawley and Louise, a singing and comedy act that took vaudeville by storm. They made it big on the Orpheum and Keith circuits. Those were the top of the line in vaudeville. They were headliners. Crowds loved them. Their chemistry on stage was perfect, even as their personal life started to crumble. They separated in 1921, but kept performing together for 6 more years. By 1927, they finally divorced. The relationship had turned toxic. William drank heavily and chased other women. Edna was jealous and possessive. The act ended, the marriage ended, but the damage lasted. William never married again. He became bitter and cynical, especially about women. That bitterness shaped the way he played characters. Later in life, William Frawley was already 38 when he finally broke through. On Broadway, on September 24, 1925, he stepped onto the stage at the Vanderbilt Theater in a musical comedy called Mary. Mary. It ran for 197 performances, ending on March 13, 1926. That was a huge run for the time. But what made this so impressive was where Frawley had come from. He had spent more than 10 years hustling through the tough vaudeville scene, first with his brother, Paul, and then with his wife, Edna Louise. Bro. They called their act Frawley and Louise. Vaudeville wasn't glamorous. It meant constant travel, low pay, and no guarantee of ever moving up. And in the 1920s, Broadway looked down on vaudevillians. They were seen as loud, crude, and second-ass. So for Frawley to go from that world to a respected Broadway stage was more than just a career step. It was a leap. His deep, booming voice, something he'd developed back in Iowa singing in church, was now winning over New York audiences. Mary didn't just give him a paycheck. It gave him legitimacy. 7 years later, he took an even bigger risk. In 1932, Frawley returned to Broadway in a completely different kind of role. This time, it wasn't a comedy. It wasn't a musical. He played Owen Ollie, a press agent in 20th Century, a dramatic play by Ben Heck and Charles MacArthur. It opened on December 29th at the Broadhurst Theater. The character was fast-talking, sharp, and jaded. Frawley had to drop the songs and the slapstick and deliver real biting dialogue. He pulled it off, and then some. His performance showed that he wasn't just a one-note performer. He could handle tough, dramatic roles, too. That play later became the basis for the 1934 screwball comedy movie with John Barrymore and Carole Lombard.